Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Xaereth Prevails, a Grand Arena story. It's another bright day in the GAC multiverse, but first I want to give a huge shout out to all of my patrons who have signed up for my Patreon and are now supporting me. You guys are awesome and I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for your support. Alright, so I am in the finals, and that's exciting. We're in Group 1, we're doing 5v5, and I'm actually facing a guy that I've faced before again, so this is kind of a week of rematches. And this was actually the guy I had to beat in Season 1 way back then. I needed to beat him and get the win in order to make Kyber. It was really close, and I had a couple crashes, actually, and I almost lost, but I ended up beating him just barely. So now our rosters are pretty different, and it was exciting to talk to him again, though. We've kind of kept in touch and talked a little bit. He's watched a few of my videos, so I was really excited to get into this match with him. Looking at our stats moving into it, my opponent did have me beat relic-wise, but not by that much. Like a few extra tier 4, but the rest of them, you know, I mostly had tier 3 where he had tier 4, so pretty even there. I had more Zetas than them. I did have 9 more gear 13s, which is a pretty big advantage, and more gear 12s for that matter. And then my opponent does have me beat on mods, which lately I've been having a little bit better mods than my opponents, so kudos to him. He had better mods back then, still has better mods, so nothing's really changed. Looking at our overall stats, we're pretty close. I do have a higher lifetime banner score than my opponent, but overall, like we're both fairly successful. And at some point in between the last match that I had with my opponent and this one, my opponent had made Kyber as well. So skilled player, absolutely. Moving into the actual match here, the front zones looked pretty innocuous, and my opponent and I had actually agreed to just each place level 1, gear 1 squad in the front, and I was a little bit hoping that he was going to just betray me and not do that. Just because it would have been really funny, but I did the same thing as him, and so we're doing this specifically for feats, and I don't know if collusion is that cool or not, but well, I know what I think it is. I think it's absolutely cool as long as we're not cheating. So ran Darth Maul in there, got 64 banners, easy enough, and that just gives me double-bladed kills with him. So cool. Start off the match with the 64 is always nice, even if it's kind of an artificial sort of nice. And now we're just going to take out the squad in that zone as well, so that we have a better picture of what we're up against. Now, you guys have heard me sing the praises of troopers before, and I will just say that if you don't have a fast Stark on your troopers team, then you're doing it wrong, because Stark will enable you to beat a lot of teams that are otherwise really tricky. This is a mostly Zetaed bounty hunter team, in fact. Bosk is at 330 speed with Django, but my Stark is at 345 because I'm crazy like that, and that means that I got to go first. I knocked down some of their turn meter with his Zeta, and then he built up turn meter. Everyone got to go. I started killing people, and before I could even describe what all happened, I got 60 banners against a really strong, really fast bounty hunter squad that would have been really tough to beat with a squad like Jedi Training Ray. Like, sure, I would feel confident beating it with Jedi Training Ray, but certainly not with full banners. So in the back, Geonosians and First Order, neither of which are very well relicked. And you can see here my opponent had a Newt team and a First Order, or rather Old Republic. I don't know how I mixed those up. They both have an O in one of their names, I guess. They had those two teams, and I was immediately aware that my opponent was going like full offense here. Going full offense can be really risky for a lot of people, but that it's risky for me too, because that means that my opponent is probably not going to fail any attacks. So I need to get as many banners every single match as possible here. I did take First Order here against the Old Republic team, just because they do two things in this match really well. Number one, they manage Old Republic great. They have a lot of different ways to dispel Zalbar or control the situation, and they also also beat Nest really easy. Like, they're the best faction in the game almost to beat Nest. Maybe Resistance is better, but I honestly think that First Order is better. So, I stunned Nest because I don't want to have to deal with her shenanigans. And then, here we're just trying to, kill the other guys. Zalbar's going to be periodically taunting as, I take down protection off of his guys. And, it can be a little bit tricky because if Zalbar is taunting and he's got retribution, then you can really have a bad day. So you saw there that Kylo Ren, he doesn't have a dispel, but he does have a stun, and because Zalbar has tenacity down as a debuff, even though my opponent had put a lot of tenacity on Zalbar, that means it just stuck on him anyways. So we can deal with this squad in a lot of different ways. And, unfortunately, I had to waste my 2-turn stun on Zalbar there to dispel. I probably should have waited. In fact, I probably should have waited so that I could put it onto Nest. But luckily, my Kylo Ren was able to just get the stun with his stun move. And now we're just waiting for Nest to take a turn. She has too much bonus protection. We can't actually hurt her at all right now. It will just time out if we continue to do a lot of attacks. And First Order Executioner and First Order Officer both have moves that could actually reduce her turn meter if we needed to regenerate some of our health and protection. And I've done that quite a bit in the past. I haven't really fought Nest too much lately. Honestly, a lot of people are taking her for offense, but that's absolutely a strategy. So we waited for her to take a turn, and now we had the person who hits really weak just take a non-hitting turn and deferred to First Order Officer, who also doesn't hit hard, but he hit hard. And then I was just able to get a big hit in with Fox and got the 60 banners. So that's a pretty automatic 60 banners with First Order. Sometimes you get 59 if you kill them too fast, which happens, but usually you can play it pretty well and get to that 60 banners. So now we're going to take the Jedi Training Ray team here into it's kind of a tricky squad, actually. We have Dooku and Newt, who are always frustrating to deal with, and then Droideka can really be a pain. And we're just trying to control the situation here. This is a control team. We have a lot of hitting power. We're also they have a lot of hitting power as well. So we're just trying to make it so that they're not hitting us too hard. So that means stuns. We have lots of stuns available. We have tenacity down. We have daze and turn meter reduction and turn meter increase for ourselves. We have dispels. And so I'm kind of jumping around here, just trying to make it so that Droideka doesn't get turns. Really, honestly, we just don't want anyone to get turns here if we can help it. And, I was able to take Droideka out before he got his shot off, which is great because he can't miss with it. And, Droideka, if he gets ramped up enough, which I was taking enough turns to make it happen, Droideka can honestly just go crazy and kill BB-8 sometimes. That probably wasn't going to happen with our gear disparity, but sometimes that does happen. Now, I did make sure to take out Newt one time first early on, because if you leave him for last, he revives and then he immediately gets a turn and he uses his extortion ability on you, and one of your characters is going to be down a little bit of protection after that, and that leads to the non-60 banners. 59 is still usually fine. Now, ironically, I did have the foresight to be able to take Newt out, but then almost as if I took him out right at the end, like I was talking about, he just used his extortion, and then I had to kill him with no recourse. So that's exactly the scenario that played out, even despite my preparations here, and that's just what happens. So moving into this back zone, this is a really risky zone here. I can't afford any fails. My opponent has at least 6 meta teams available for offense, and that means that if I fail a single attack, then they'll probably just be able to cruise to victory. So We can't afford to lose this battle, and honestly, I've lost this battle a few different times with my Darth Revan squad, even with Malik in there, and it just wasn't... I didn't really have a squad that was really great at this. I wish I had my Night Sisters team or something like that. That can work really well. This team is really tricky because BB-8 gives them all a ton of turn meter, and then he eventually dies, which gives General Grievous even more turn meter. And here I'm kind of waffling, trying to decide what I want to do. What I should have done here is I should have just killed BB-8, because you see how close General Grievous's turn meter was. If I just killed BB-8, it would have triggered General Grievous's turn meter anyways, and that would have then in turn just had the exact same result as if I had spared BB-8 and he went again. So I should have killed BB-8 and just knocked that out right away. Didn't really think of it. Unfortunate for all of us, but that's just how these things go. Sometimes you forget these things. And so I did manage to take out B2 first. You always want to mark B2 right away, and I did follow that principle. However, probably I should have just killed BB-8 here as well, like targeted him and just gotten rid of him, because he's giving all of his information buff, whatever it's called, I don't really know, the little green buff with BB-8's silhouette on it, and he's giving all of his guys that, and eventually he's going to get Illuminated Destiny off if I'm not careful, and so I don't know, we just got to be careful here. That buff is frustrating. We should have killed him a long time ago. So, he is taunting, he's available, and it's just tricky to figure out when exactly to take BB-8 out. What we're really waiting for now is for Jedi Revan to, we want him to survive so that he can get his mark off, and, then we can all target General Grievous and have a good time. Otherwise, we don't really have the hitting power to chew through Magna Guard very fast, and, the clock is starting to get toward the halfway point, which is a little bit scary, and General Grievous has had a ton of turns at this point. So, note that Jolee could have called an assist from Grandmaster Yoda, and that's something that a lot of people will want to do, but I had him do a physical attack because he had 2 more turns until he was able to revive someone, and so Jolee is going to be key in reviving everyone, and because he used his basic, however, it reduced his cooldown, so now he can revive the whole team right away, and we can move forward. So once again, before Jedi Revan even got a turn, General Grievous just took him out. So we're probably gonna have to do things the hard way. B1 is not making things easier because he keeps healing Magna Guard, and the clock keeps ticking down. Now again, if Jolee wants to get an assist in, or rather call an assist, I mean, Grandmaster Yoda hits hard enough, that would have been nice, but again, we want Jolee to be getting basic attacks, because once he gets basic attacks, then every time he gets a basic, he's reducing his cooldown. So once again, he can revive the whole team, and now Grievous is available to be able to mark, but we're only at 1.5 minutes left, and it's getting a little intense. He's keeps increasing. Every time he gets a turn, he gets 10% more health, and so he's already in the 150,000 health range anyways, and every time he takes a turn, that's adding another 15,000 hit points. And so finally we got Mark onto Grievous, and now can Jolee call an assist? It looked like it was probably going to be a good move to be able to do that. One important thing I do want to note as well is Grandmaster Yoda has gotten a few really timely special moves. He has his big hit, which is nice. It does extra damage. And, the other really awesome thing about it, though, is it reduces turn meter. And, that's huge, because if General Grievous was about to get a turn, then hopefully he has to wait for a whole nother round of Jedi attacks. Now, I didn't even hesitate to take out B1 there. I didn't try to heal or anything, because I needed to make sure I didn't time out. 57 banners there. A little closer to the wire than I would have preferred, but we did get the win, and 57 is a fine score against a team that strong, especially because it is the strongest team that my opponent put on defense. unless it was the young Lando lead. That was rough. So now, my opponent did have Geonosians, and I've had a lot of success with my Darth Revan team being able to take these guys out without them getting any hits in at all. And so I thought that I'd just underman it, hopefully get an extra banner in on them, and that's not actually really how it played out. They they got their turn, and then they killed HK, and this is at this point what I would consider to be a botched attempt. Now they even cleansed all the shock off so that Bastila can't just kill all of them. I probably should have just used shock to start with anyways, and that would have been a wise idea. Instead of the dark battle meditation or whatever her ability's called. But whatever, I guess that's just how it goes. So now we did finally get someone under 50% health, and that means that they're death marked on their leader, and he has so many hit points because he's shared the health pool with everyone that it took a while to take him out. Now the Brood Alpha's gone. We just have to pray that Spy isn't going to be able to get another huge hit off and kill another one of our characters before the match is over with. And so this was a win, but man, pretty sloppy. 56 banners, and I really think I could have gotten 61 if I had done a few different things. So I guess lesson learned or something. More like I just have a reason to feel ashamed now, where none existed previously. But we took out the Geonosians. We have troopers left, and it's a pretty random team that I have to face with troopers. There's also First Order, and it does have the new Hux, and we need to be careful, but Hux isn't the lead or anything, so I did feel comfortable taking just these three, the Commander Luke trio. Killed Hux right away, so that was a little bit like Episode 9 in a way. Just kind of pieced out and never seen again, so that was nice. And 3-man Commander Luke against this team is pretty cool. It's a lot of fun, actually. You feel it's almost like God mode, because all my guys are really high relics, and these are all gear 12 First Order, and so that they went down super hard. 62 banners there, kind of in a tiny way made up for that botched Darth Revan attack on the Geos, which, as a side note, is only slightly less known than the droid attack on the Wookiees. So now we have the Imperial Trooper squad that we need to take out. They do have Wampa here, which it's pretty random. I had the choice to take either my Padme squad or my Traya squad. And part of the reason for all of these meta teams that I have available is just that we only had 7 teams that we needed to take out this time, because I got a freebie with Maul, and so we're both operating with way more teams than we know what to do with, kind of. And so I decided to 3-man this fight. I figured probably I could get my protection up in time, and they wouldn't be able to dent me afterward. But once again, I kind of miscalculated a little bit. The result is never really in question. Like troopers against Padme, as long as you don't have like a ridiculously huge gear disparity, troopers are a really terrible match for Padme, but they do enough damage to be able to cost me banners. They can cost me protection, and I don't have a way to regenerate it. So now we just have to be careful with Wampa. He can get ramped up. We don't want to have any times where some of our health is down and we lose another banner. So 59 banners. Really, this wasn't a bad result. If I had taken 2 more characters, probably would have ended up with 55 banners. So happy enough with that. And I got the full clear. 1916 is great, even if my opponent would also have a +4 because of my cup lead team on the bottom, in the bottom zone there. So anyways, before I show you guys my end results, I did want to show you I got the double-bladed feat, so that's pretty cool. Thanks to my opponent for wanting to do that. And so back to the board. Now I'm just kind of being mean and taunting you guys. This is the board before he attacked, and my attacks only took 45-ish minutes, so that was nice. They did attack pretty quick after that, like in less than 3 hours since after the round started, and they did one-shot all of my teams, but not quite as efficiently. So looking at my defenses here, my Cup team did not withstand the might of the Sith, unfortunately, much as I would have liked that. Talzin also failed, which we're all used to that, especially solo. Just kidding. Talzin is actually great. My Nest team fell. My Django team lost. My Grievous team lost. Everything lost. And that's just the nature of the beast. He had 6 or 7 meta teams, and could just counter my whole board, basically. Even my General Skywalker team lost, which granted they're not the best modded. And anyways, I did manage to drag a bunch of banners off of my opponent, at least. So I ended up winning by 19, and I was right. Like, if I had failed one attack, I would have just lost the whole thing. That's the price you pay for going full offense and facing full offense. If your opponent can be a little more efficient than you, and you both get, you one-shot your way through, then you're going to win. But if one person fails even one time, then that's the person who loses. In this match, it was just the person who was a little more efficient. I had stronger teams on defense, most likely. Countering General Skywalker, I wouldn't be surprised if my opponent dropped a full 10 banners in that fight alone, even though he probably had the fight under control the whole time. So anyways, you can see my end score here, or rather my end rank, and that's legitimate. Like, there's no one in Chromium at this point. It was legitimate, I should say, and then eventually more people attacked and I was displaced. But even as I'm speaking, I'm actually in like 20th place overall in Division 1. So I don't know how long that will last. If I get one loss, then I won't even be close to contention for that. And I would love to get number 1, of course. So would everyone. But even top 10, honestly, even just top 50, even though I don't get like a different title or something like that, that would just be really cool. That I would love to go undefeated and get top 50. Maybe that should be my goal. With my other goals being actually trying to get top 10 and, maybe even top 1. I say these things and it's just not gonna happen. I realize that. But, good to have goals, and, it's been fun so far. So I won my group, and we're on to group 2 here in a couple days. So thank you guys so much for watching, and remember that in all things, Xaereth prevails. Especially when it's against young Lando lead.